Facts Verse presents an exceptional story about a boy that writes a note to a police officer and shakes his mom's life. It's not uncommon for a person to go through tough times once in a while. For most people, it's just one difficult situation that they're trying to get through. For people like Amanda Canton, falling on tough times doesn't mean just one specific issue. For Amanda, life was pouring on more than the young woman could handle. Amanda Canton lived in Tonawanda in Erie County with her son. She was having a run of bad luck in 2015 when her father died unexpectedly. So not only was she grieving, but she also had to find a way to plan and pay for the funeral. She was already struggling to get by as a single mother, so the expense of a funeral was a lot for her. After the funeral, Amanda walked to her car only to find that there was a parking ticket on her windshield. She knew she couldn't afford to pay for the ticket, but she wanted to take care of it right away. She didn't want any more debt hanging over her head, so she went to the courthouse to pay it. After making the payment, she headed out to the car and found a second parking ticket on her windshield. She was exhausted and upset. She couldn't imagine things getting any worse. Amanda thought things couldn't get any worse, but, well, she was wrong. When she got home, she found an eviction notice on her door from her landlord. She couldn't believe life was dumping on her like this, but she had to go to court to straighten things out once again, this time with her landlord. During the hearing, it was determined that she would need to find a new place to live. The courthouse is located in a very congested area, there's no parking anywhere, and Amanda had no choice but to park in an area where there were no parking signs posted. She hoped her car would be all right while she attended her hearing, but, you guessed it, it wasn't. When she came out of the courthouse, the same police officer that gave her that second ticket gave her a third. Amanda couldn't believe her bad luck. She was struggling to pay off her father's funeral, all of her parking tickets, and now she had to find money to rent a new apartment. Amanda was in a panic, but she had to put on a brave face for her son Noah. She had no idea things were about to get even worse. Everything in Amanda's life already seemed chaotic. She tried to keep going for her son Noah, but it wasn't easy. He was her #1 priority, and when she got a call from the school saying that her son was sick, Amanda panicked. They told her that her son needed to go to the hospital as soon as possible. Amanda rushed to the school and picked her son up. She brought him to the hospital where he got in to see a doctor right away. All she wanted was for her son to be all right. She felt great when the doctors told her that Noah was going to be okay, but she wasn't fine when she got the hospital bill. Life kept hitting Amanda. It was becoming more and more difficult for her to keep getting back up. Her bills were piling up. Her son's hospital bill only added to her debt. Unfortunately, she didn't have anyone to turn to. She didn't have anyone to go to for help, or even just to listen and let her know that things were going to be all right. Being a single mother was weighing significantly on Amanda, and she wasn't making enough money at her job. All of these problems made her miss her father even more because he was no longer there to help, financially or emotionally. Before he died, he always knew how to ease her pain, but now he was gone, and Amanda felt completely alone. When Amanda saw the bill for the doctor, she became angry. She was upset about the cost, but with everything else going on in her life, the stress and anger had been building up, and she took it all out on the doctor. She and Noah's doctor were yelling at one another. After hearing the argument, everybody in the office knew about Amanda's financial hardship. They were yelling so loudly everybody heard it, even if they weren't trying to listen. Amanda didn't realize it, but Noah was listening too. He knew that his mother was in a bad way, and he thought that it was up to him to do something about it. Amanda felt like she had finally hit rock bottom. She had to overdraw her checking account just to make the copay at the hospital. She only had $15 in cash in her pocket, and she decided to spend that on her son. She was going to take him to the arcade and then to Denny's to get some breakfast. She was worried that he was starting to feel her stress, so she decided to take him out and make him feel better. When the two left the arcade, they went over to Denny's. When they got to the door, Amanda stopped in her tracks. Noah noticed immediately that his mother's posture had changed. He asked her what was wrong, and she told him that the police officer who gave her all of those tickets was sitting in the restaurant. Amanda was furious when she saw the officer, her whole body tensed up. Although he didn't know it, the officer had put extra strain on Amanda's life. He made it impossible to cover the bills that she had to pay. She was feeling overwhelmed, and her first instinct was to go over to the officer and yell at him. She wanted him to put himself in her shoes just for a second. Just as she was about to lose it on the officer, something stopped her. Someone stopped her. Noah. While Amanda and Noah sat at the table, she watched him eat and she started to feel terrible. She never wanted him to know that she was struggling so badly, and now he knew. She thought that she'd failed as a mother. As if her financial situation wasn't bad enough, now she felt like she was letting her son down. She sat thinking about how she was going to get out of this current situation, and her mind kept returning to the police officer who just added to her load. She tried to calm down, but she couldn't relax. She was beyond angry at that police officer for his part in her financial hardship. Noah had always told his mother that he wanted to be a police officer when he grew up. When he saw a police officer, he would stare in awe. He always wanted to talk to police officers and find out how he could be one when he grew up. Now, seeing how upset his mother was, Noah became conflicted. He wanted still to be a police officer, but after hearing how angry his mother was and how badly the police officer was hurting her, even though he didn't know it, he wasn't sure if he wanted to be a cop after all. The officer's name was Ryan Benitez, and he was eating alone. And Noah wanted to do something to help his mother, so he had an idea. It made him nervous, and if his plan didn't work, he might end up regretting it. Also, he didn't want to cause his mother any more stress. Amanda had always raised Noah to have manners and to respect his elders. She was a firm believer in treating people the way you want to be treated, and she instilled this in Noah his entire life. She tried to lead by example, which meant that she would keep her feelings about the officer to herself, as difficult as it was. She didn't want to ruin her son's view of the police, after all. He always seemed to look up to them, and she didn't want to ruin that for her son. Even though her life was spiraling out of control, she didn't want to blame that on a police officer. She didn't want her son to see that she was barely holding it together. She thought about her father, the parking tickets, and the fact that the money she was using to pay for her son's breakfast was all that she had, but she didn't let her son see her desperation. She tried not to let her son see, but he knew his mother. He knew she was upset, and it was up to him to help. He was the man of the family now, after all. Noah wanted to confront the police officer about the parking tickets. He knew that he had to protect his mother, but he was also intimidated by the police officer, and he didn't think that he could confront him. He felt that if he built up the courage to walk over to the officer, he'd suddenly become shy once he got over there. He wanted to speak to the officer, but since his shyness just wouldn't let him, he had to come up with another plan. And finally, he had an idea. Noah had a great idea. He would need a pen and paper. He went to the counter and spoke to the waitress. She leaned down to listen to the young man and smiled and handed him paper and pen. A few seconds later, he joined his mother. He sat down and he was working hard, writing. Amanda wanted to know what he was writing, but she couldn't see from across the table. She assumed that he was just doodling. When Noah finished writing his note, he brought it over to Officer Benitez. He was very nervous, but he managed to muster the courage to bring it to the police officer's table. At first, the officer was confused. He wasn't sure what a young boy wanted to tell him, and when he looked at the note, his face turned red. Noah watched the officer waiting for a reaction. Officer Benitez was shocked when Noah handed him the receipt for his breakfast. Noah's 9th birthday was a few weeks earlier, and he was given money as a gift. Rather than buying a toy, he chose to hold on to that money. He wanted to save it until he found something he really wanted. Noah wanted to pay for the officer's breakfast, and he also wrote a note for the officer that contained heartfelt words. The note that Noah wrote read, "I want to be you when I grow up. Thank you for your service, Noah Cummings." Officer Benitez couldn't believe the kindness of this young boy. He had had children want to shake his hand before, but he had never had a 9-year-old boy buy his breakfast. He wanted to show his appreciation, but when he realized who Noah's mother was, he recognized her. Well, he was a bit nervous. Officer Benitez got up from his chair and asked Noah to take a picture with him. Noah was so happy to be taking a photo with his hero that his annoyed mother felt joy as well. She was thrilled by the way the officer was responding to her son. Also, Noah made her so proud. His selfless gesture was terrific. The officer wanted to repay Noah for his generosity, and he wanted to do something for Noah's family. Amanda was so proud of her son that she posted a picture of Noah and the officer as well as a photo of the receipt. A few of his fellow officers contacted Amanda, and they asked if they could share the story on their Facebook page. She agreed, and they wrote, "Well, Noah, you touched all our hearts today. Your support means so much to all the men and women who put the uniform on every day. We wish you the happiest of birthdays." Well, it wasn't long before the post went viral. When the officers heard Amanda's sad story, they had her traffic tickets taken care of right away. And it wasn't long before people all over the world heard the story and started commenting on the post, telling her what a great mother she is and how incredible her son Noah is. It's an exceptional story about a boy that writes a note to a police officer and shakes his mom's life. Her son's one good deed helped turn her negative, angry feelings into pride and happiness. Something we should all strive to do. Has anyone surprised you with a random act of kindness? Tell us about it in the comments, and subscribe for more.